All right, so let me say good morning and welcome to this live broadcast. My name is Prince Mulbah and this is Focus on Liberia Television. We're here this morning with the head of delegation of the Pan-African Women's Project. They've come in Liberia to monitor the Liberian elections. The Pan-African Women's Project was here during the first round of the elections. They also here during the second round of the elections. And so we've come to speak with her this morning, specifically from where we are now. The Elections Commission is announcing provisional results, but from the results available to the media and the Liberian people so far, from all indication, the former Vice President Joseph Boakai will be announced winner. He's now the projected winner. More to that, the President of Liberia, President George Weah, last night about 11 p.m. Announced to the world, Liberians and the world, that the CDC has lost the election. He considered defeat and congratulated former Vice President Joseph Boakai. The Pan-African Women's Project has been here to ensure that the election is peaceful, that it's credible, so that it can serve as a lesson learned for other African nations. We can speak to her. Madam, good morning and welcome to Focus on Liberia TV. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, so what is your full name?
My name is Dr. Mrs. Eno udensi.
Okay, and where are you from?
I'm from my birth. I'm a Nigerian, but I live in Johannesburg.
Okay, and you are the head of delegation to the Pan-African Women's Project. Tell us a little bit more about your organization.
Pan-African Women's Project is a non-governmental organization. It's an NGO of African women, youths, and persons with disabilities. Our organization primary mission is we promote good governance and sustainable democracy in Africa through various developmental projects for women, for youth, and persons with disabilities in Africa.
Great. And so
on top of that, when we started the NGO some years ago, we were not observing elections.
Okay.
And the women of Africa started writing to the office in Johannesburg that if you look at elections in Africa, the total vote participation are women and youth. In many countries, the women have 50% registered voters. But at the end of the day, what happens to women? And we also see that there used to be a lot of victimization of women. And even at the election day, women are being intimidated. So all this came to the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees, we decided to say, okay, let Pan-African Women's Project be involved in observation mission in Africa, observing the electoral processes by firstly going out to sensitize. So like before we do any elections, we do what we call sensitization program. Like in Liberia here, we did sensitization program. We go talking to women, we partner with civil society groups. We do handbills, giving them to go out on the street, tell people that Liberia belongs to Liberians, that Liberia must be peaceful. So we do sensitization program in the marketplace, in the public space, in the park, in churches, in schools, telling people, one, go out and ensure that your rights is in place by voting. Because if you don't vote, then you have lost, your privilege. So we encourage people to vote. We encourage people to go and get their permanent cards, registration card, voters card. We encourage people that they should shun violence. Because women control the home. So we tell the women, talk to your husbands. There's no need to go into thuggery. Talk to your youth, your young adults. Tell your young adults that there is no need for them to go into violence during elections. There is no need for the young adults, which we call the youth, to go into thuggery, to go into ballot box snuffing, ballot box snatching. No, because they don't need it. So the role of peace is in the hands of women.
Okay.
They control their home, talk to their husband and their children. So we did that, then we recruited people to go on the field. And what is our recruitment all about? We are looking for people who are non-partisan. We take them, we train them, we put them in different places. Go and they come back with results. Then we who are the long-term observers, we are on the field doing the same thing, moving around. So that's what we've been doing in our observation.
Great. And in how many countries currently you have membership in the Pan-African Women? I mean, in around Africa, how many countries have you your membership?
We have about 18 countries now.
Okay.
Yes, but it's for us, there's Pan-African Women's Project in all the 54 nations in Africa.
Great.
But where we have actually gone to open an office, yes, it's 18. And
Great.
even in Liberia, yeah, we the last time we came for the elections on the 10th of October, we've already gone to collect our forms to do the registration. Okay. So we are looking at before the end of December, we should be getting our certificates so that we
to
can
have an office
in
in Liberia.
We can have an office open in Liberia.
Great. All right. So let's get to the elections. You've been in Liberia. Tell us, how's the process so far from October 10, the election day on October 10, then to November 14, even though you started working before the election day itself. But let's look at the process of election, the day that the votes were cast, and then the counting processes and the announcement of results by the Elections Commission, the announcement of the runoff, going to the runoff, having the runoff, and then coming to where we are. What's your observation so far? What can you say to the world?
Firstly, we have observed that the Liberian election have been very peaceful.
Okay.
And secondly, we observed that this election was keenly contested by the two major contenders, which are the CDC, who the sitting president, George Ware, was a candidate, and the Unity Party, which is the former vice president, Mr. Joseph Bioka, was a candidate. We saw that this election was really contested by these two political parties. Mm-hmm. Now, we've also seen a lot of transparency with the electoral processes. From the 10th day of October, we were there on the field. Firstly, we saw at the polling stations that all the political parties' agents were all seated. Over 15 of them, they gave them chairs. They sat at every polling place.
Okay.
Monitoring, watching, and the electoral officers conducted themselves very credibly. We saw also the counting process, because we were even at these polling places even till 2 a.m. in the morning, when the ballot boxes are being opened, when they are being counted and showed to the people. Everybody got the statistics, and we now went to the next one. We did the presidential, we did the senatorial, and the House of Representatives. So we observed all that the processes were all transparent. Now, the one that really interests us most is the tallying process. In many elections we've observed in Africa, we have not seen the level of credibility in the tallying process as we have seen in the Liberian elections. What am I saying? In this Liberian election, even at the 10th October election, they have tallying centers like the Musorado tallying center. We were there. Now, every district has a screen, and the tallying officer sitting in front of the screen. So they pick the result that we saw that was counted from the box. They start imputing it into the system, and it's live. Now, where they had issues with additions, and is noted by a stakeholder. At that point, the party agents are there, the media is there, the observer, all of us are seated. People will raise and say, no, this calculation is wrong. They quickly change it. And after they upload the result to the portal, they print it, the copy of that result in that particular polling place, and they give it to all of us. So, for instance, these particular elections that just finished on Tuesday 14th, we had in District 13, about 135 polling places. We were there till like about 3 p.m. when we had to go for the briefing. They kept printing and giving us, kept printing. So when anything is spotted, they correct it before they. So this is the lesson. This is amazing. This is interesting. This is credible. This is what we are taking to the other electoral bodies in Africa, telling them to borrow this type of credibility. We are taking it to Independent National Electoral Commission in INEC, in Abuja. We said, look at this. When you talk about collation, the collation process must be transparent. If it's not transparent, then you're not doing anything. Now, the electoral body should also, during the tallying process, print as it is. And because when you are committed to transparency, you need to have an evidence of your transparency. So what the National Electoral Commission did in this election is that they are not, Madam Lansana and the electoral officers are not saying just what they cannot do. They have an evidence of credibility.
Was that something strange to you, where you see the tallying processes, the results are, I mean, what is being tallied? That result is being printed and presented to the media, to the civil society organization. Was that something strange? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean,
easily.
We don't see it in most places. We were in a Sierra Leone election just 24th of June. We were at the tallying center. The tallying center, they already barricaded the tallying center with their glasses. A lot of people say, okay, why did you invite the observers to come and observe? What are we observing when we don't have opportunity to enter into where the tally is done?
You didn't enter there?
We were not allowed to enter. So, we talk about there was no transparency, because whatever they came out and said it was, is what we were, everybody was, nobody saw what they were doing. We only see them through the through the glasses. But whatever they're imprinting, nobody knows. And they're not printing anything for anyone.
Okay.
And so the same thing in INEC, in Abuja, Nigerian INEC does not do the tallying that we saw here. They have a collation center, yes, where everybody go, they tally. Even when people are complaining, even when political parties are raising alarm that this is not so, they were there, this is what they saw. After all, results were announced in the polling center, and the party agents do go to sign. This is not what we had signed. They say, no, go to court. So the electoral body in Africa, some of them, I'm sorry to say, have so much impunity, which is not democracy. That's not democratic. We are giving kudos, we are applauding now the National Electoral Commission here, because they have left history. They have left something, they have left credibility for Africa to learn from. That whatsoever result was on the field must be allowed. Madam Lansana allowed the result. If she said she's not going to announce this result, it's nothing they're going to do to her, because we've seen it happen in other countries. We've seen it in Gabon, where they did not even allow the observers to go into the polling booths. They did not allow. The international observers were not allowed many on the field. You know? So, it's not Africa. So, we have a lesson. There's a lesson here. There's so much to say about the Liberian election. Okay, now look at, we saw in this election, the last election, people that committed electoral offenses were being tried.
Yeah, they are currently being tried through the court process.
They are tried. In other countries, they will tell you that the electoral process, electoral commission do not have powers to try, because the electoral act, which is part of the constitution, has refused to add this lacunas. They have refused to add clauses to allow the electoral bodies to try electoral offenders for reasons best known to them.
All right, so the next question I'd like to ask you, as a women organization, you the head of the delegation here in Liberia, even though you say this is what you're going to take to other countries, but as you own this life, what's your message to other African leaders who sometimes will try to manipulate the electoral system through the commissioners, through the chairperson or the chairman, just so that thing works in their direction, in their interest? As a woman who is seated before this camera, what can you say to other African leaders who are monitored or who might monitor this live broadcast?
Yes, our message to African leaders is that, powers belong to the people. And when I say power belongs to the people, that is democracy. Democracy is power for the people and to the people. So when power now leaves the people into the pockets of politicians, then it's not democracy. The Liberian case is an example. Now, the sitting president, President George Weah, is a young man. He came in year 2017. He has seen that this power does not belong to him. So he came out and spoke to the nation last night, saying to the nation, this power has left me. The powers that you give to me as a president is no more with me. That's the summary of his message. So, folks, citizens, to the leaders of Africa, that they should allow the electoral processes to be free and fair. They should not manipulate electoral bodies and coerce electoral bodies to bring results that were not on the field. That when they lose, they should lose gallantly. Like what we have seen when President Goodluck Jonathan lost elections in 2015. Before ever the Independent National Electoral Commission brought the final result, like what happened yesterday, he officially went on the media and said, my nation, no human blood is more worthy than this power thing. He said, no human blood. That he doesn't want anybody's blood to be shed because he wants to be a president anymore. No. The decision has been taken from what he has seen, so he has accepted it. So everybody should go home and move forward. And the country was peaceful. That is the same spirit of sportsmanship that President George Weah has adopted, because he saw his elder brother do the same. So he has done the same. And it's what we're saying to African leaders. Why don't you allow peace to reign when you lose elections? Why don't you accept defeat gallantly? Right now, like for us, we are not saying he has been defeated. For us, these are heroes. Goodluck Jonathan is a hero. George Weah is a hero.
You describe me as a hero.
He is a hero because many leaders in Africa who want to die, they want to kill people, they will allow their supporters to go on the field, demonstrate, create chaos, and people will die in the process. And probably in the process, maybe, God forbid, the military juntas will take over. Because he has seen that already. West Africa is sitting on a gunpowder. We have seen military juntas take over Mali, take over Guinea, take over Niger, take over Gabon. So, President George Weah did not want another military juntas to take over his country. So he told a place of peace, and that's why we applaud him.
Two more questions as we conclude this interview. So stay on the President Weah. I think President Weah is a young president. I mean, prior to the elections, people felt that, it was rumored in Liberia that he's not going to allow him to just leave power just for one term in office as president. Prior to the elections, there were some, tension in other parts of the country. But with all of that, last night he spoke. In your opinion, do you think it was something that maybe he was pressured to accept what he said last night, or it just because of his own conviction, according to him in his speech and what he said, because of the love of the democracy of Liberia? What do you think?
I think President George Weah is a good man. Yeah, when you talk about leadership, leadership is a position of trust and responsibility.
Okay.
So President George Weah knows that the people of Liberia had trusted Liberia into his hands to be a leader. So as a leader, because of this trust that was given to him by the people of Liberia through the ballot in 2017, he knows that Africa now, especially the West African bloc, the ECOWAS bloc, is sitting on a time bomb. So he doesn't want people to die. So I don't think anybody coerced him.
Okay.
He's just being a good leader. That's what I have to say.
Okay, finally, there's no system that is perfect, even though you are pleased with the way in which the Electoral Commission in Liberia conducted itself, the counting and tallying process of the vote, you're pleased with that. But is there any area that the Liberian system needs to improve on for future elections? Did your observation see anything of such?
Yes, they need to improve on the capacity of the ad hoc staff.
Okay.
Yes, we observed that the ad hoc staff that we saw were the polling officers, many of them were not matured. Yes, they couldn't take decisions in the polling units. Why am I saying that? A place called R.C. Lawson, on the 10th of October, because of their immaturity, they were unable for people to be in a queue. Yes, they were not. They couldn't manage the crowd, so they couldn't manage their utterances. So a lot of them, they come in and shout at the voters, go away, go stand on the queue. So if they had managed the crowd, properly, then there would have been that the space of the voting would not have dragged till the night.
Okay.
Yeah, so we want the Electoral Commission, that's one of the things in our recommendations to them. During the next elections in another 6 years, they should try and recruit matured minds to be ad hoc staff by bringing people from the civil societies, by bringing retired civil servants, by bringing even the clergies from the churches, even from the faith-based organization like the mosque. They should have matured minds. So whenever there's a reaction, they'll be able to take a good decision. And again, we also observed that the persons with disabilities, they did not really look into their cases properly, especially those on wheelchairs. Now, many of the polling places we saw had staircases, and we saw the person with disability struggling. They couldn't climb. Many of them are crippled. So that already disenfranchised them. So this is also part of our recommendation. Next time, they should consider polling places that do not have staircases. Even when they have those kind of polling places, they should create another table for person with disabilities to go in there. So that when they go there, they know that's their desk. They go and vote and go on. Yes.
Great.
And again, the security aspect. At the polling places, they did not have security. Like that, I'm going again to talk about the R.C. Lawson. the chaos was so much. We only saw one security man. They even carried him on top of the shoulder and threw him out. So the Electoral Commission should sit down with the security, the police, and see how they can structure a security system that they can have not less than 4 or 5 policemen at big polling places like Arsenal Lawson and every other place we saw. So these are the things that we put as recommendations. And again, for the issue of the votes collecting, the timing is too long. I mean, it took over 2 weeks for the National Electoral Commission, NEC, in Liberia, to bring out the result for the 10th October elections. That's too long. They did not consider we that came from other countries to observe elections. They didn't even consider the reaction of the populace. Because when results are stretched, there's tension. There was a lot of tension here. People were tense. So the Electoral Commission should consider having bringing out more technology that will enhance elections to be collected early and shorter than dragging the process of tallying. Because for instance, now if they have like what the Independent National Electoral Commission has, like what South Africa has, e-voting. If there's an e-voting, then the computer will already know how many people have been accredited and voted, so it will upload automatic. So the collation and the tallying will be faster. Thank you so much.
Great. Finally, let me just put to the one of the issues. I mean, I also like you to throw light on is the issue of civic and voter education. We recorded huge number of invalid votes during the first round of the election, over 100 plus invalid votes. The Elections Commission, when we asked other questions, she said maybe it's due to the educational aspect of the voters. And we're also going to record huge number again during the second round of the election. What could be a recommendation when it comes to civic and voter education ahead of elections, so that a small country like Liberia, we're not going to be having 100 plus of the votes invalid?
Yes, I think I looked at that invalid votes, the aspect of it, and also asked few questions from the voters, the electorate. A place like Liberia, if you notice, many people who have the voting cards, 50% of them are not really that literate.
Okay.
Yes. So, and they need, more education in telling them on how to vote. But in this case, many of them told us that they were confused because there were too many people on the ballots. Like for instance now, if you had noticed in the 10th October elections, people were mistaking number 2 to be number 3. Many people there was a young man who was there, people were even thinking he's just a boy. Yes, when they saw the resemblance. Yes, so their concern, in fact their worry is that why can't the country has a 2-party system? Like you are going to see that will not happen. The total number of invalid votes will be less in this election. Yes, because they now know they had 2 people on the ballot. So it's either number 1 or number 2. It's easy. But when you had a 15 or 18 people on the ballot, and a woman who is in the village, she's not so educated. She looks at it and she's not comfortable about the symbol. Maybe she doesn't know the symbol of the party. She's just concentrating on the face. Then she'll be looking for a face that looks like the man in her mind. So I think the Electoral Act should also consider having a kind of 2-party system or 3-party system. Not just here. We've said this recommendation to other part of Africa. Because when you have 17 people contesting as a president, then those who are not educated, who were not trained, who did not have voter education, will be confused. Yes.
Thank you so much. Anything further? Maybe in 1 or 2 words as we take leave of you on this live interview.
Yeah, what we have to say is that the Liberian people who are members of the CDC should move forward. And they should come together and work with the party that has won the election, which is the Unity Party, and see how Liberian economy can improve. That's what we can say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, folks, my name is Prince Mulbah. This is Focus on Liberia. We've been in a conversation here with the head of delegation of the Pan-African Women's Project there from West Africa, Johannesburg. They've been here to monitor the Liberian elections. They were here on the 10th of October. They are here again on the 14th, or taking on the 14th of October to follow the elections. Thanks for following me. Of course, we're going to do most of the kind of interview today to get the views of stakeholders, international partners, and also observers who have come to follow our elections. Until another live broadcast, my name is Prince. Bye-bye. Thanks for following.